The front page of this morning's Daily Telegraph has caused a bit of a stir, thanks to its front page, which says the investor George Soros, known as the man who broke the Bank of England, is, according to the paper, backing a secret plot to thwart Brexit. The report, which carries the byline of Theresa May's former advisor, Nick Timothy, is about the plan by one Remain supporting campaign group to try and bring about a second referendum to keep Britain in the EU. Well, the former UKIP MEP Stephen Woolfe has claimed that what he calls ultra-Remainers are now speaking with a single voice and wants Leave campaigners to do the same. He joins me now from Strasbourg. Stephen Woolfe, I don't quite understand what you're worried about, unless you're running scared from a Remain campaign, then perhaps is doing exactly the same as the Leave campaign did ahead of the referendum.
No, what I was concerned about is that the Remainers, or what I call the ultra-Remainers, as you've just heard with Alistair Campbell, really don't want to listen to voters. And what they've done since that referendum has been incredibly well organised. They've managed to get their people in places to be able to articulate their view that this will be a disaster, that leaving the European Union will cause immense problems in the future. And also, they're incredibly well funded. And as you can see from today's newspapers, what you have is a UK-based organisation accepting a large donation from a non-UK banking billionaire. I mean, to be frank, that reminds me a little bit of the Ridolfo plot in 1571, where we had a Florentine banker trying to help the team assassinate Elizabeth I. So this is not the first time that we've had
but billionaires
opposing
bankrolling
British
political campaigns is hardly new, is it, Stephen Woolfe? I mean, this is nothing secret about it. They're hiding in plain sight. I mean, the complaints you're making, you could say, look, the Leave campaign was a pretty aggressive, legitimate campaign that wanted to leave the EU, and the government has said that the country will leave the EU. You were part of a campaign that wanted the government to rule out the possibility of staying in the single market. Well, they've said that's going to happen. And the same with the customs union. So where do you think these ultra-Remainers, as you call them, are taking a lead on setting the agenda for Brexit?
I think what you hear is when I go up and down the country, which I still do, and I attend meetings and speak to ordinary people, they're incredibly fed up by the negativity that seems to be on the media, particularly on not just shows like this, but on the television and in all different ways, that seems to say that the Leave vote is a particularly bad scenario, and they don't feel that they've had their voice of a really positive Britain that could happen after we leave the European Union. And that's why I also wrote in The Independent that not only do we need to bring all the teams together of the various Leave groups, but actually try to articulate a very strong, positive message. And I've argued that we should have a kind of low regulation Singapore style type of economy moving forward, which includes all the key 4 points that we wanted: control of our borders, ensuring that we have our money back and being able to distribute that in the right places, making sure that European Courts of Justice is no longer in control, and democracy is with our people, not those outside.
Right. Have you got support for your move to bring everyone together?
Very happy to have.
Have you got support for everyone and all these groups to be brought together?
Well, I've certainly been talking to them, and you saw with my actions taking Lord Digby-Jones and John Longworth from Leave Means Leave, and also Labour Leave in John Mills. I've spoken to a number of people from different groups, and we've been pulling together.
Right.
And I think that you'll see some more action on this front coming forward in the next few weeks.
Right. Do you need Nigel Farage to come and lead it?
Sorry, I missed that. Terribly sorry.
Do you need Nigel Farage to come back and lead this new group that you want to put together?
No, absolutely not. I think Nigel has taken a very different route. Of course, he still articulates leaving the European Union, and he's a strong voice. But I think most people are now seeing Nigel as someone who's more interested in being in the media and a part of a personality. And of course, what I think we need to look at now is those people who have experience in having to deal with the economy of Britain, those who need to create the laws across a whole spectrum of policy issues that concern the British public. Those are the people with experience that you've got. And of course, in UK politics and the Conservative Party, you have the ERG.
Yes.
And they've been leading this very strongly with Jacob Rees-Mogg and others like that. And I think that's a very positive part too.
Right. Would you like Jacob Rees-Mogg, perhaps, to lead this group? You sound pretty enthused by him as the new leader of the European Research Group. Would he be the answer?
Well, I think Jacob Rees-Mogg is doing a sterling job with the ERG and all the other Conservative MPs who are backing Brexit to the hill. I think they would obviously be part of this group. But this is a message I'm trying to say is over the next 4 to 6 weeks, where I believe we've got a mission critical timing ahead of us because of what I see here in the European Parliament in relation to the votes that are needed and the way that the Commission is pulling together a whole series of papers, that we need to challenge that and put forward some very positive messages.
All right.
And I know, for example, that one group is bringing a really strong message of how Britain would be successful in a big way in financial services if we adopt a certain set of criteria.
Right. Just before I come to you, Angela Smith, Aaron Banks's outfit Leave.eu is now encouraging former UKIP party members to join the Conservative Party, saying last month, maybe by flooding back into the Conservative Party, we can change the course of history again. Do you agree with Aaron Banks?
Well, I think Aaron has obviously seen some very, through the people that he speaks to in his group, the decision here that there is no political party challenging the Labour Party or those in the ultra-Remainer groups that can say that Britain is in a bad way. And I think
so
those
should they flood
within
back into the Conservative Party,
like we've talked about, I think they have to take their own decision of whether they feel that if they're a Labour supporter, they can back people like John Mills and the Labour Leave group and Kate Hoey and those who've done a good job, and those who feel that, like myself, we're small C Conservatives, those who believe in a different vision for Britain, should help the Conservative Party group that are fighting for Brexit. But both sides need to make it cross-party. This is a national issue of the future.
Okay.
And I think that we need to have people from different political parties working together on different fronts to attack the ultra-Remainers.
Right. Are you an ultra-Remainer, Angela?
It was an extraordinary interview, wasn't it, really? And for somebody who it want everyone together, but not quite everybody. We don't want Nigel Farage. But then this was the Leave campaign won the referendum, and now they seem to be in some kind of panic. Let's all get together. And I suspect it's because people are rejecting that kind of extremist Brexit that we've heard articulated, and sort of a lack of confidence in the government to deliver any form of Brexit at all. So I don't blame him for trying, but I think he's on pretty much a lost cause for a hard Brexit.
Stephen, what do you say?
Well, I think there we go once again with the language of the extremist Brexit language. And this is not very helpful. This is the sort of language that has been used where we've said that the old are destroying the lives of the young people, that we should say, those who voted Leave are xenophobic and racist. And really, it's quite a disgraceful stance for people like yourself to take that view. We have an economy that can and will move forward successfully in the future.
But why then,
and
Stephen,
all we're
does all
simply
the
saying
evidence...
is
Why
that
is,
there
Stephen,
is this negative
answer
impression.
me a question, if you will. If that's the case, the economy will do so well from your form of Brexit, why is all the evidence that the government tries to suppress showing the opposite? And I've never been called an extremist before in my life, so I find that quite amusing as well.
Stephen?
Well, what we have seen is that during the referendum campaign, we had these sorts of economic reports suggesting from even then the Chancellor that we'd lose 400,000 jobs, that we'd have an emergency budget. And this is exactly the same type of argument in the economics. And what we have seen is actually more people in work, less people unemployed.
Yet.
We've seen increases in the successful in terms of manufacturing in lots of different sectors.
Right.
And of course, we haven't left. But you can't have your cake and eat it and say, for one thing, we haven't left and the economy is growing, and then suggest that the economy is slowing quick enough.
All right.
And that is the type of argument you put forward.
We're going to have to end it there. I can't remember how many times people say, have your cake and eat it, and one day we will. Stephen, thank you very much for joining us.
I think it's pretty clear whose side the Lord's on, Barrington.
England, sir.
Naturally.